let's begin with the session. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Anubha Jindal, Webinar Executive at 𝗷𝗂𝗱𝗂𝗁. I welcome you all for this session. So for today's session, we have this topic that how to crack judiciary in the very first attempt. And that's in itself a very big thing because we have seen that there are so many aspirants who try for so long but still not able to get it through. And so there should be some tips and tricks also to clear judiciary in first attempt and to give insights and detailed comprehensive strategies over the same. Today we have with us Ms. Anubha Jindal. So it's a very pleasure to have you on our platform, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Okay, to introduce our today's expert, Anubha Jindal, she did her BCom LLB from Punjab University, Chandigarh. She was the second topper, batch 2013 to 18. Moreover, currently she is pursuing LLM, Masters from Punjab University, Chandigarh. She appeared for not only one judicial services but 4 judicial services, and as a result, she has achieved rank 8 in Punjab Judiciary, rank 11 in Haryana Judiciary, rank 25 in Rajasthan Judiciary. Also, she cleared Delhi Judiciary till the main stage, whereby the interview is pending. So it's a very big achievement. Also, apart from her academics, she also won a national moot court competition in her college days, and she was also part of that moot court committee. So it seems like you've been through a very motivational journey, Anubha. So we are very excited to have you, and we have a lot to learn from you. So welcome to this webinar with 𝗷𝗂𝗱𝗃𝗃.
Thank you so much.
Right. Before we get into the question and answers session, it would be very pleasurable to ask you that please tell us something about yourself, your journey, and why you decided to get into the law.
Okay, hi everyone. The very motive of my joining law was to clear judicial examination. It was my aim to be a judicial officer from the very first day of my college. So it's just that I molded my 5 years in such a way so that I can achieve my goal as soon as possible. And regarding myself, I am Anubha Jindal. I did my law from Punjab University, Chandigarh. I am pursuing LLM from Punjab University, Chandigarh. And as already told by Anu, that I have cleared judicial examinations of 4 states. So I'm looking forward for this session now. Okay.
Right. Yes. So just start with the question and answer session, of course. So please tell us, like, why you wanted to get into the judiciary? Like, what was your motivation behind joining the judicial service?
Actually, my parents always wanted me to be a judicial officer. So it was a major portion why I wanted to be a judicial officer. Further, once I entered into my law college, there I get into know that what other options I have. And it molded my, like, I was more inclined to be a judicial officer once I joined law.
Right. So your parents was your major factor to be in this and to pursue and living their dream was the major or important factor to you to become a judicial officer, and that's also a very good thing. So please tell us something that when did you start with the preparation, and what should be the ideal what we can say ideal timing for started preparing for judicial examination?
See, like, there are 2 kinds of students. One like me who are sure from the very first day or like during their law, they are sure that they want to go for judiciary. And there are others who are yet not sure that whether they want to go for judiciary or litigation or corporate, whatever like options they have. So firstly, dealing with the students who are like who are sure that they want to go for judiciary. As per my experience, I believe like if you want to go for coaching, fourth year is best for joining coaching if you are a 5-year student. Like in my college, the fifth year was more with extracurricular activities. We had internships and compulsory moods and street plays. So we were unable to cope with the coaching along with the college days. So fourth year is most appropriate time to join coaching so that you can complete your coaching notes during your college days, and you save, I guess, at least 1 year. Like you don't have to join coaching after you have completed the law. You're done with this part during your college days only. And regarding the students like who are yet not aware that whether they want to go for judiciary or not, I think whenever they're sure that yes, they want to appear for judicial services, anytime they can go for. Like people appear in at the age of 35 also, so there is no such limit like what's the appropriate time. Just whenever you are sure that you want to go for judiciary, make best use of your time. And I think it's more beneficial when we are graduating, like during the period of college, if we utilize that time for preparing for the judicial services.
Right, ma'am. So as you said that in the fourth year itself, people can make bifurcation, like whether they wanted to go into the corporate laws, corporate field, or into the judicial service. So that is the time where they can actually bifurcate, of course. So, ma'am, just let's start with the technical part of this webinar. For example, like how you started with the preparation, like how much time you invested, and what used to be your routine. Like, and since you have like you managed to secure such a good rank in these like three judicial services so far, so please share your journey with us.
Like I have already told, like by the end of my college, I was already done with my judiciary notes. So once I graduated, I started with self study. Like the most important part is self study for clearing any judicial examination. Coachings are for the purpose of guidance only. Once you get to know that how to like read the bare acts and how to start with the preparation, what's the important topics, you can do it by yourself. Like self study is the key to cracking the examinations. So in my fourth year, like I already told, fifth year I was completed with my coaching notes. After my graduation was done, I started with my self study. I picked up like the major topics first, like the IPC, CRPC, CPC, evidence, and family law. Like like my major aim was to clear Punjab Judiciary. So family law also, it's very important here. So I firstly completed these major subjects. Like firstly, you need to take up time, like they're time consuming subjects. And then minor subjects can be done in a period of 3 to 4 days if you sit for around, like I used to give my sitting for at least 8 hours. Like for the initial days, 8 hours was necessary to complete all the books and go through whole of my notes. And that's it, I think, if you can ask if I'm not clear.
Right, right. Yeah. So as you are stating that you were done with the notes, right? So
Yeah.
like just tell us that how you prepared your notes and what used to be your strategy of preparing notes. Also, we have seen that there are people who are taking coaching and they get their notes from there itself. But there are so many aspirants who are not taking coaching and who are also doing a self study. So please guide us through that how to make notes effectively so that that could be helpful for your mains writing and everything.
Okay. See, like firstly, the very base of your note preparation are the textbooks. Like you can have one book for each subject. Like for IPC there is 𝗱𝗿𝗱𝗄, for CPC there is 𝗱𝗃𝗺𝗃, and CRPC for there is 𝗱𝗃𝗃𝗃. Like take one basic book. You can also go for the books that you have done in during your graduation. Then like what I did was I highlighted what is important in my books
Anubha,
because it's
can you
sorry.
please stable your camera? Like you can keep your phone somewhere so that camera could see
It's
it.
not stable right now.
Yeah, it is now. earlier, because yeah, yeah, continue.
Okay, so like I highlighted what's important in my books, textbooks, so that I don't have to go through the whole of the book once again. I just highlighted what is important in that particular topic. And similar I did with my coaching notes. See, like I won't say that coaching is necessary for judiciary preparation, but I think it gets a little bit easier. Like you get to, someone is teaching you from the judiciary point of view, it gets little easier for you to, you know, complete the subjects or understand some difficult topics. But I won't say that it's impossible to clear without coaching. Like I have many friends who have cleared without any coaching. So I just compiled my notes from the book and from my coaching notes. Like I prepared my own notes once I was done with reading the whole book, highlighting the important points. And similarly I did with my coaching notes. And the highlighted portion, like when you start writing it, then again you get to limit parts that okay, you don't need to write this in your main notes. And further I added material from like live law. I kept portion, like I kept spaces left with my topics, so that whenever I get some important point from somewhere, maybe a past year book, or maybe from some uh, latest judgment has come, so I write it down in my notes, uh, so that I get a full-fledged topic prepared at one place, so that I don't have to rush from one place to another place. It gets very difficult, especially when you are, when the mains are, you have to give your mains at
Right,
that point of time. So my major focus was to keep my notes crisp, short, and like to the point. Like since during mains we have two paper in one day, like we have to revise whole of the syllabus and the subjects in 2-3 days. It's very difficult at that time to go through whole of your notebooks or your books. So I prepared shorthand notes that were my final notes, where I wrote all the important judgments, the important points that were necessary to recall or remember during the paper. And that's it. Like keep your note, firstly textbooks, then whatever notes you have. And definitely, like I personally read live law. It was very helpful during my exam, especially Delhi Judiciary. During Delhi Judiciary, they asked major of the portion is latest judgments. So live law, you will get the important point that is necessary, and that probably they'll ask in the paper. So I think it's very helpful. And other than that, I read AKJAN also. It's somewhere they have done like crux or dealt with topics from judiciary point of view. I get some 2-3 points from that book also. So from these 3-4 sources, I completed my notes, and I was satisfied that okay, now my notes are complete and I can rely on them whatever exam come up. And these were the notes I gave all the judicial examinations, be it of Punjab, Haryana, Delhi or Rajasthan. And like I was not specifically preparing for Rajasthan or Delhi or Haryana, but simply because I had full-fledged material of each topic prepared. So it was not difficult for me to appear for other states as well. So
right.
I think,
Yes, yes. So as you said that you prepared your notes beforehand, so that you will not be like you will not suffer any problem, when the exam comes. So ma'am, just tell us something about that. How you started preparing with the preliminary examination. Also, like nowadays, it's a trend in judiciary examination that whenever you wanted to start with the judiciary exam, you need to prepare along with the mains, right? You need to prepare for the mains as well as pre, and that should go along. So just tell us about how you prepared for pre-examination for all these particular states.
see, like whenever the notification comes, it's not from that point you start preparing for judiciary. Like whenever the notification come, you have to start preparing for the first round, that is prelims. You get to know that okay, you after 2-3 months you have your preliminary prelims, so you start preparing for that. But beforehand, when you are simply preparing for judiciary, it's a wholesome preparation. Like you read bare act along with the books and prepare your notes or read whatever you're doing. So once the so in that case you are doing both prelims and mains. Like prelims are mostly barrack based questions. In prelims they ask mostly barrack based questions. So once the notification come, like if you have 2 or 3 months for the prelims, I just read my barracks only. I didn't go for my books or for my notes. I just read the barracks like maybe 4 times, 5 times, so that I'm well versed with each and every provision, the section number, the important dates, or the important terminologies that are used in a particular section. It's very, very important. Like since I have cleared these states, so I can definitely say that barrack is the key for prelims, to clear the prelims. And I think one should ensure, like when you can say that you are ready for prelims is you recall the barracks in your mind. Like, okay, this is section 1, it states this, without looking into the barrack. It's really very helpful, and you'll get confidence that, okay, yes, I am aware of this particular provision. And once you're done with the barracks once and again, and I think latest judgments are important for prelims, but that too, I think 80% is barrack for the prelims, and 20% is your GK or the latest case laws.
Right.
So firstly have command on your barracks for clearing the prelims. And for mains, we are mostly, they are contextual, like you have to be well versed with the case laws, the important points, the essentials of a particular topic. So mains is kind of different preparation than as compared to prelims, but definitely it's not altogether different. They are to go hand in hand. But once you are preparing for prelims, I think just stick to your barracks.
Right. So as we are talking about a preliminary examination, so ma'am, could you please tell us that what used to be the pattern of preliminary questions which you faced? So these post days, does they have any different pattern, or they followed the same pattern in preliminary exam? And what amount of last year questions were there, and how much you solved the last year question paper, so that that particular thing helped you in clearing the preliminary examination?
Okay, so like I told you, it's in 2018 I cleared my graduation, and I had my first prelims in December. So I had around 6 months gap between my like after I started with my self study. So I was preparing for my mains only when my prelims come up. So I had, you can say, 2 months for preparing my prelims. So in that case, I firstly started with the barracks only. I read the barracks again and again so that I'm well versed with them. I did past year MCQs of the states. Like there are books also for MCQs, like Universal Book or Singles Book. But to be honest, I did only the past years. There are like 10, 12 sets of past year papers, and yes, there is likelihood of coming those questions, and at least you get to know the pattern, what kind of questions they ask. Like for example, in Rajasthan we had Hindi also in prelims, and in Delhi there are comparatively more contextual questions. Like it's not only barrack. For Delhi you need to be more aware of other things also, like the mains factors also. You are to be well aware with the concept of a particular topic. But in case of Punjab and Haryana, there are some but history also, like history questions also relating to the state. So these there are, but it tend to amount to 20 to 30%, which there was change of the questions. Otherwise 70% of paper was same for these states, and which was morely based upon barracks and the basic knowledge of topics, which I think if you're preparing for judiciary, you get to know throughout your study. And I think past year papers are very helpful if you're preparing for any state. You must do them. It's a must do, I believe. And otherwise, also for practice, if you have time, you can definitely go for the books that specifically come for prelim exams.
Right, right. So, ma'am, as yes, as you said that previous year papers helps you a lot. Also, ma'am, there is a problem that arises while we preparing for judicial services about the sections. Like it becomes very difficult to learn the section number along with its provision. Also, there are long provisions in it, and remembering that clause by clause is also very important. So please tell us what used to be your approach and what aspirant needs to follow up.
Okay, so for actually, I read the barracks again and again. I instead of like firstly, I understood what the provision says. Instead of just don't go for cramming. It won't help you anywhere. You should understand what the barrack says. Like most even that will help you in understanding the concepts also. It's not that you're just preparing for prelims. It will help you in your mains also. So just firstly understand what the provision says, and then again and again read the barracks. Like I gave reading for the to the barrack for 2, 3, 4 times, whatever it takes. And also like I had my friends who were preparing with me. So we used to like whenever we had lunch or we were going somewhere, we just ask randomly, okay, what is this section? It's like dodging the provisions. It helps you in your revision kind of like if some aspirants have their friends preparing along, I think it's really very helpful. Like we can share things also, and I think with discussing it gets easier to learn instead of just going by yourself. But definitely some students are preparing by themselves. So I think you can write down, like not like the whole barrack, but you can just see, okay, what is section 313 of CRPC. You can in your mind recall it states this and that. I think that's enough for the prelims.
Right, right. So, yeah, remembering and repeated revision along with the discussion with friends
Exactly.
can also be a good strategy for learning the sections and remembering that particular thing for a long time. Yeah. So, as we are talking about preliminary examination, and so please tell us that when you appeared for preliminary examination, so there is also a translation, like what we can say, a grammar sort of part, also a GK thing, right?
Okay,
Like you said
right.
that in RJS Rajasthan there was Hindi and English also, and in other judiciary in Delhi there is a GK portion also. So how you
Yes.
prepared for that?
See, like GK, mostly states, the GK questions are asked in the prelims only. But in Delhi, we have that GK is also asked in the mains also. So for GK, like you have, I think it's best if a student has the habit of reading newspaper daily, and you should make notes. Like I think hardly you will get 3 to 4 news from one newspaper that are important from your prelims or mains point of view. The rest of the news are not that important. You can make bullets of like in 2 or 3 lines, you can sum up the whole news. And I think it's best if you can like continuously write it. Like I used to do this, and of October 2002, 2019 question was asked in October 2020. But since it helped me, like I was preparing bullets, I remembered that particular news, and so it was helpful to me. Otherwise there is a channel on YouTube also, a study IQ. They give you current affairs, 15 days or daily updates. So it was very helpful to me also. I did that channel up. And also the magazines, for like if you have prelims in March, you can do the magazine of December, January, February, the first 3 months preceding your prelims. And it can be any magazine that you maybe in your area that's famous. Like we had Gyanam in Punjab and 𝗱𝗱𝗄𝗱𝗃. So we did these magazines.
And ma'am,
Otherwise,
for
for
yes.
yeah, otherwise for language, uh, actually language questions are asked not in any state except in Rajasthan. So I'm not that good in Hindi. So I just did it from YouTube only, like the basic questions, how to do some basic sort of questions that were asked in the past years. And I just stick to the past years only, like what kind of questions they asked, and which I thought that it would be feasible for me to understand in this much time period. I did only those questions instead of thinking that no, I'll prepare for the 100 marks paper and I'll attempt each and every question. So I did smart study, like whatever. I was confident with my law. Fit the language part, English is okay with me. So the language part difficult for me was Hindi. So I just went to the YouTube and all the topics. I just understood that, okay, what is this and what you have to do in these questions. And the technical questions that were, I just left them so that I can better concentrate on the things that I have already done and brush up those concepts instead of going into new concepts.
Right. Yes, so yeah, as ma'am stated that there are so many resources over internet from which people can access to it. Also, she stated certain what we can say GK magazines and uh, the other things like for GK you can refer some good YouTube channels also. So ma'am, in preliminary we have seen that there is a portion also where we see a case laws, current case laws, and for that you stated that you can go for live law or something. But it's sometimes become really hard to remember each and every case laws, like the ratio descendi or the orbiter dicta or whatever the held portion of that. So it sometimes become not practical to remember each and everything. So how you used to learn case law? Because in prelims also we see that they put just a situation and they ask that in which case it was held. So either you have solved the previous year papers or something, so that would helpful. But just you state that how you did that, remembering.
Okay. See, firstly, case laws are very, very important for any judicial preparation. So for mains also you need case laws. So it's very important if you start remembering the case laws, at least the landmark case laws for each topic. Like if whenever you want to suppose for arrest, it's necessity that you should be aware of 𝗷𝘂𝗱𝗄's case or for Arnesh Kumar's case. Like these are must cases that you should be aware of. These are the landmark ones. And regarding prelims, I think mostly if that either they focus upon the landmark judgments or the latest case laws. And if we talk about the latest case laws, it's not that they ask any kind of latest case law. It must be relevant in some aspect. Maybe it lays down a new law or it's a case law upon a particular provision that was not interpreted earlier, something like that. So I think in live law is good enough for that, that they focus upon those cases only which are very landmark, or you can also use your own mind to eliminate the cases and just remember, okay, this you think that this is important for the prelims or mains point of view, instead
Right,
of
right.
just writing the cases again. Like what used to, like initial during my preparation also, I started writing 3-4 cases for each topic or for each point. I don't think that's smart work. Like you can't remember all these cases, especially when the mains come. You have to go for 5 or 6 subjects in one paper. So I think better if you eliminate your cases and stick to just the few that are landmark ones. And also you can get to know that what cases are landmark from the books, from the past year books, or from if you are joining some test series or some mains writing preparation, you get to know these things.
Right, right. Okay, so basically, what we all are getting that smart work is all what is needed to secure a good rank in judiciary. Also, because judiciary syllabus is also vast. When we see it like in contract itself, like if we see particular section, there are so many cases for that. So first of all, we need to go for the landmark cases. Then we can follow up the other cases which are so least important. So, ma'am, as we talked about the preliminary examination, which is of qualifying nature, now let's turn to the means writing examination, which plays a very important role, and also that also helps you to secure a good marks, right, ma'am? So please
Yes.
tell us that how you used to prepare for mains examination and what was your writing pattern and how you used to summarize your answer and everything. Yeah, please share.
Okay, see, firstly, I think for, especially for mains, if I say that you need to have a proper timetable. Firstly, that's very important. Like I used to divide time. If I have 1 month, no, it's see some like I just see that okay, in 1 month what all I have to do. I will say for 7 days I'll do this subject, for 2 days I'll complete this subject, and you have to stick to the timeline. But sometimes okay, you can have 2-3 days okay upar niche ho jata hai, so that's okay. But try to stick to your timeline first and give, like divide your day. Like I am a early bird, especially for my judicially preparation. I started waking up early at 5 or 6 a.m. because that's the time where you get least disturbance from your surroundings. Otherwise people like you may meet some friends, or you receive calls that's difficult for you in your preparation. So I used to complete the major portion of my study in the early hours of the day, like from 6 till my breakfast it's my first sitting, and after breakfast till lunch it's my second sitting, and after lunch uh, I used to do some like relaxing work. I give myself breaks also, like uh, maybe go for a walk or watch something, and then I do something like GK thing that doesn't require much of your mind application. So I kept the part later on. Regarding preparing for mains, as I've already told that I prepared my notes from the sources that were available to me. I made a crux of all those notes, and while writing in exam, just make sure that don't beat about the bush. Just write what is important. The examiners keep your like answer crisp. They don't need length like we used to write 5 or 6 pages during our graduation or post graduation. But in judiciary you have to like in 1 page is enough for a 10-mark question, or 20 marker you need at least 2 pages, that's it, or maybe 2.5, that's more than sufficient. And in those 1 page or 2 pages just write what is relevant, and in 1 or 2 lines say a thing that you want to state. Like sometimes what we do is write same thing in 2 or 3 lines. That's just useless. Go for one line, that's enough to state what you want to say for that particular introduction of the topic, and cover essentials of the particular topic, and the latest judgment, latest or maybe the landmark, whatever is available to you. Or if both are available, then definitely wrote both the judgments. And yes, I think what makes your answer different from others, if you correlate it with other laws. I think that's what, because basic, everyone knows the basics of law, every can write what you have written, like the judgment, the essentials, or the introduction part. But if you correlate it with other parts that are not available in every paper, that what give you an edge over other people. So like if whenever you do CRPC, you can correlate it with IPC, or IPC with CRPC, maybe CRPC with CPC, like a similar provision is in CPC. Or definitely with constitution, we can correlate a section with constitution. So I think correlation is very important. It shows that, okay, you are aware of all the topics of law, not just the one that is asked, and you are aware of the aspect that has been asked. I think that's for mains. Rest is, yeah, I think I only thing I believe is be crux and relevant, and if possible, correlate with other laws. And definitely it's better if you go for answer writing practice. Maybe join some test series, or you can write on your own the answers, how much time you take. Completing the paper is very important part. Like most of the students face this problem that they are unable to complete the paper. Even I have a similar problem. Like I used to think, and whenever we start with the paper, we are like, okay, I'll write the best thing that I know. And we start thinking, okay, I can write this. And you get up late with other questions. So I think firstly complete, like during the paper also make a timeline. Like in this much time, you have to complete this much of portion of your paper. And even if you can short up your answers but complete your paper, maybe the extended length you wrote for the answer, it may fetch 1 marks, but if the similar point of time you have written on a question that otherwise you may have not completed in the paper, it may get you 5 marks. So make sure to complete your paper and be crux.
Right, right. Yeah, so as you stated that in means writing, you can write the particular objective or the policies which that particular question is having. The case laws also, along with that important thing which you said, that interlinking of sections is very important, because that will show that the particular aspirant not only know that particular provision in particular law, but also in other laws as well. So, ma'am, as you also cleared the means of Delhi judiciary, and in that we have seen that there are a lot of questions that comes from a very practical aspect, right? So, how you prepared for that?
What my experience is with Delhi is like most of the questions are, yeah, right, practical aspects, or mostly are based upon the latest judgments. So you must be aware of what are the issues involved in that particular question that they have asked. Like I used to write the issues in this question, like 2 or 3 questions that 2 or 3 points that you need to be analyzed in that question, and then I substantiate them with the relevant judgment or with the provision. The provision is must to write, and if you have a judgment, it's better. Like it will get to icing on the cake that you have completed your answer. So I think Delhi is more like if you're clear with your concepts and you are aware of the latest judgments, you will get marks. And
Right.
even I think the positive thing is in Delhi is that even if suppose the judgment says you are not allowed, but you give an answer which says yes, the person is allowed, it will fetch you marks if you have given the proper reasoning. Like reasoning is very important in your Delhi means. You have to be logical with your case law and the provision that how you have come to this particular conclusion from these facts. So I think if you are aware of the law, the judgments, you can definitely write a very beautiful answer for that question, and it will definitely get you very good marks.
Right, right. Okay, so yeah, as you said that in mains writing, you need to be like in Delhi basically, because that is having a different pattern. So the logical reasoning and the conclusion part that needs to be considered while writing an answer. Also, ma'am, there's this problem that comes up that when people start with the mains writing preparation, so like we have seen that there are some questions which have a very long, answers. For example, Article 14, res judicata, and there are so many big topics where we see that there is so much to write, right? And when we go to the examination hall, we actually need to summarize that particular thing, because we cannot write each and everything. So like do you used to write your or make your answers beforehand, and used to learn about that, like you have written article 14 pe pura, like answer, and just like you used to write your answers beforehand, और just आप एग्जामिनेशन हॉल में जाके अपने आंसर्स लिखते थे?
No, like I have not written like flex because you're not aware what kind of question they may ask. Like it's difficult that they'll directly say, okay, what is res judicata? What is the probability of, like in Haryana, we were asked the question like, is res judicata applicable upon a compromise decree, or is it applicable upon writs? So these are the important questions like res judicata or Article 14. These are in CRPC, we have 161, 162. These sections are very important. And on these sections, like what I did was I prepared my notes in such a manner that I written down every important aspect on that section. Like I have written firstly that what's the objective of the provision, the essentials of the provision, and what other things that I should know. Like is it applicable upon writs? Then if I have a judgment, I write down the judgment on my in my notes. and whether it's applicable upon a compromise decree, yes or no, or whether I have a judgment on this part or not. So this is how I prepared my notes. And whenever the question come up in exam, like what is essential is you need to specify the answer, what it is. If you have a judgment, better mention that. And also, if possible, like if you feel like that your answer still needs to be incomplete, you can go for the essentials of the section. Definitely you need to explain it, then only you can answer the specific part they are asking for. Regarding the question you asked, like suppose if they actually ask question like in general, what is res judicata? So I think here what is essential is I made flowchart in my paper. Like in Haryana, we were asked the question, write about discharge of a contract. So we had so many things like breach of a contract, performance of a contract, impossibility. All these things result in a discharge of a contract. So if it was a 10-marked question. So it was not possible for me to write about each and every section and provision and explain it well. Otherwise, I would have not completed my paper. So what I did was I made a flow chart. I stated this modes by which a contract can be discharged, like by impossibility, by performance of a contract. The sections I had in brackets, I wrote all the sections, and then I just in 2 or 3 lines concluded what is performance of a contract and what is impossibility of a contract and what is breach of a contract. In 2 3 lines, I just gave a brief of the sections what they state, and if I have a case law, just I mentioned that case law. So I think that was covered my whole of the paper sheet of 1 page, and so that's it. How I concluded with the basics section.
Yeah. So yeah, the strategy which is like you shared, that making a flow chart also can also help you to summarize your answer. Also, you can put all the contents, whatever you remembered, in a very short
Yes.
span of time. Right, ma'am. So like as we have seen that you said that there is a GK portion in mains writing also. So like how you used to like learning GK and everything is fine, but when it comes to writing, you actually need to write certain facts and figures, what you have learned during the current affairs, right? So ma'am, how you used to do it? Please just tell a brief about that.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Ma'am, like as you said that in mains writing we have this GK portion also, which we need to
Yes.
actually write. And yeah, so just tell us that how you used to write your GK questions, and what used to be your strategy.
Okay, so like I think as per my experience, it's in Delhi only that where we have to write the GK questions. It's English paper only. There is a portion for GK where they ask for paragraphs on. Usually they are on like the current happenings. Like we were asked a question upon artificial intelligence and Chandrayaan. These were the questions, and for that actually I refer to the IAS notes. Like the IAS students prepare their notes in that way. So one of my friends helped me with that. He gave me all the recent topics that can be asked in paper, like these are the current happenings that are happening during that time. So I had the data for those things. Otherwise, if talking about the general topics, like for example on women, on education, on religion, politics, all these topics, these are also helpful in your essay writing also. So I used to write like in 3 pages or 2 pages, I sum up all the recent happenings that were happening relating to women education or women empowerment, or like Me Too was there. So I wrote I made 2 3 bullets regarding Me Too in my English, in my essay writing pages, and on under the heading of women empowerment or relating to women topics. And similarly, for education, religion, politics, all these are the basic topics. And for even it's helpful in every state, like in your essay writing also, write the current happenings that are helping regarding those topics. So it will get a good impression upon the teacher also. So the data that is available or some new government scheme that has been launched to curb that particular problem. And otherwise, I took help from the IS notes I have already told you. So that's how I prepared for the GK questions.
GK questions, yeah, as well as for essays also. You said that that could be reliable source for essay writing. So there was this question that was coming up from the aspirants. So ma'am, like as we have seen that during mains preparation, you also have to go through the judgment writing. So, just tell us about the judgment writing part. Also, when and how you used to write it, like in your daily routine. For example, judgment writing practice you used to do. So, what used to be your routine of practicing the judgment writing?
To be honest, it was only in Rajasthan that we get the question of judgment writing. That's evident that they'll definitely ask a question upon judgment writing. But in case of other states, Delhi, Punjab, or Haryana, there was no such kind of previous questions where they ask for judgment writing. So if I specifically ask this with respect to Rajasthan, firstly, I refer to the book. There was a book of past years on Rajasthan papers, and then I just tried it once or twice. Like, I think for judgment writing, you have to give firstly the brief facts of the case, and then what the petitioner or the party is stating, and then the respondent side, and then you uh, what evidence they have stated their facts or what evidence they have brought, you correlate it and give your own opinion, and then there comes the final conclusion of the judgment. But otherwise, to be honest, I didn't prepare that much for judgment writing because it was not that important for my basic states where I was preparing for.
Right, right. Yeah, so also people can refer for the reliable sources, and in market there are so many books on judgment writing, like single, so they can refer for that also. Yeah. We had talked about a lot about the mains examination and how effectively you can write in your mains examination so that you can fetch a good marks. Now let's come to the last stage of judiciary examination, and that is interview, and that's also plays a very important role about how the personality of a particular aspirant is and the knowledge they carry. So ma'am, just tell us something about your interview, the questions which were asked during the interview by the interview board, and yeah.
Like firstly, if you go for interview, I think they have already tested your knowledge via the prelims and the mains. So it's more of your personality test during the interview only, like whether how you present yourself. It's not that obviously you should be aware of the basics of law. It's not, they'll ask you basic questions of law. Generally, the questions, like I was the fresher, I had no court experience or any practicing experience, or neither I was serving anywhere. So they asked me very basic case laws, or I mean to say questions on law, or about my family background or my education qualifications. These were the questions, or regarding the recent happenings. I think it's very important. You should be aware of what's happening during those days, like the current affairs when you have your interview, especially read the newspaper of the day when you are having your interview. And regarding that, obviously, don't make blunders of the basic case laws. Like you have already done with your prelims and your mains. So preparing for interview is not that difficult because you're well aware of the law already. You are just to prepare with the GK part only at this point of time, or just brush up the laws once again, go through them. Otherwise, be calm. There actually, in my interviews, the judges were very cordial. Actually, they are very cordial, and they make you feel comfortable first. Then only they ask for the questions. Firstly, they ask you basically about yourself so that you get comfortable with the environment and don't be nervous. So just be polite, but definitely be aware of the happenings that are going on. Even if you say, sir, I'm sorry that I don't know this, it's perfectly okay. But don't lie to them or just beat about the bush just because you want to answer it, but you're not aware of. So I believe that interview part is not that difficult. If you're aware of the current happenings, you are well know the law. So that's it.
Right. So like, would you like to share your any good experience of interview, if any? Any question? Yeah.
Uh, like in Rajasthan, I was asked very basic questions like what is section 154 of CRPC, section 303 of IPC. They asked me like the section number, then I had to be spontaneous to answer like what is in that particular section or what is the present status of that particular section. In Punjab and Haryana, like I was asked on section 154. In Punjab interview, like since I had already cleared the Rajasthan and Haryana interviews, so the judges asked me like, why don't you go for an integrated paper, like you're giving paper of each and every state and then clearing it? Just go for a national paper. That don't give such paper. So that's just a way of them to make relax me or just a joke. That's it. So otherwise they are very like very nice experience of interview. We are very experienced, like nice experience.
Right, right. Okay, yeah. So the tips you suggested that during the interview you have to be calm and honest. Like, and also you need to be updated regarding the GK and the current affairs about the same. Yes, ma'am. So like we have almost covered the stages of judiciary examination. So let's take some of the questions from the participants. So there's this question that is coming up from Divya, and she is asking that could you please guide to like how to cover CPC in judiciary exam, as we know that CPC is like a nightmare for the law students, because it seems like at the prima facie it seems like very vast, and having a vast syllabus and everything. Just give a brief about like how to cover CPC and like.
Okay. Personally, even I am not that good with CPC meters. So I think in CPC, BARACT is very important. Like since the provisions are very general, so you should be aware of what this order states. And there are very few orders that are very important from the judiciary point of view, like of injunctions order or like order 1, 2 parties order, or then set of, there are some particular uh, orders that are important. But firstly you should be very aware of the bare act, what it states, and then there are certain topics like res judicata. You can go through the past year papers, you will get to know that here smart study is very important. You should go through the past years and then analyze that what kind of questions they ask. Like there I think some basic questions that come up every year, or like res judicata we have, or set off, or representative suits. So you can basically, what I feel is like you write the bare provision, the section number or the order number. Definitely most of the sections are to be correlated with the orders. There are generally sections with which you have to correlate it with the orders, and just present it, or you can give examples also in your answer writing in the CPC paper. And also you can go for the judgments that are provided for that. I think for CPC you need to go for the BARACT very importantly. The important topics you can do them from the book, like I read Takwani only, and the other sources you can get from like the past year papers. Also you'll get some judgments or some important points that you may not have covered from your book.
Right, right. So I believe that Divya has got an answer. So the second question that is coming up regarding the landmark judgments, as this question is asked by Rachna, and she's asking that in terms of like, as we know that there are landmark judgments which we need to remember, right? but that we can cover in constitutional. Like we all know that Kheshan and the Bharti, A.K. Golaknath, these are the landmark judgments. But what about the CRPC and CPC? Because there we sometimes not knowing that what are the landmark judgments. So how to find that? Yeah, please tell us something about that.
See, firstly, like I was also more of like most of the syllabus I covered is with self-study. When you go through topic again and again, or you may come up with some other source, you will get to know that okay, this judgment is repeated everywhere. If you are like in a doubt that firstly the book already emphasize on like this judgment is important. In some cases maybe the book has not written, like it has written 10 or 12 judgments. In that case there are sources, like I won't say that you should go for only one source, like the book is not enough. You can go for some other, I don't like, some maybe your coaching notes or some past year papers. Some judgments are repeated everywhere. From that you will get to know okay, this is the landmark judgment. Otherwise if you are very like, my class notes also help me a lot of my graduation notes. So I get to know okay, what judgments my teacher has given us at that point of time I wrote that. Otherwise also they give you PDFs of okay, the important judgments on this particular section. But otherwise I think you automatically get to know that these are the judgments which you should write in your answer, otherwise your answer is incomplete.
Right, right. So basically, like the cases which are mentioned again and again. Also in the textbook, it is written that these are the landmark cases. So that would be helpful for writing a landmark cases in CRPC and other subjects. So there's this second question that is coming from Neha, and she's asking that as we talked about in mains writing, that there should be at least one case law, right? So she's asking like how many case laws we can write in like while writing for mains examination. Is there any limit or something like that?
Okay. Firstly, I think it's not like must. Like sometimes you are, there are provisions you don't you don't do any case law on that particular topic. So it's not that must that every answer should have a case law, but it's advisable if you have one case law at least for one topic. Like in my notes, I made sure that uh, at least I have one case law. It was only the important topics where I had two or three or five, maybe five case laws on a particular point that I have. Otherwise, I just stick to one case law for each topic because it's very, very difficult to learn all the case laws, especially when you have to write, remember in them in your paper. And yeah, it's advisable that you should have one case law for per topic. Like it gives you good impression in the paper and may get you some extra marks also. Or like I used to, the only thing I did before my mains was to remember to go through my case laws only. Like when you have 1 or 2 hours break before your paper, I usually go through my case laws only because it's really it's actually a very difficult task to remember all the cases, but you have to do it so that you can get good marks, and also it's necessary for completing your answer also.
Yes, yes. So accordingly, one needs to divide their time along with the marks which they have allotted, right? So there's this second, like the question that is coming up, and this question is asked by Sushalini. And yeah, this was we were about to discuss that how you like prepared for the local laws, because since you appeared for four different state judiciary, so they each have like different local laws, so that might be
Yes.
difficult. So yeah, just tell the strategy how you prepared about the same.
See, mostly it's the rent law that is different. Like the each state has their own rent law. But if we go through the rent law, most of the states have some basic framework that's common in all the states. But that's not necessary. May they have different case law or basic structure. So my major focus was the Bear Act. Like I like I hardly did any case law upon the local laws. I just understood the topic from the Bear Acts only. And if possible, I can just Google if I get something on that particular topic. Otherwise, from the past years also, I may get something important, but otherwise, the only thing that I focused upon was the bare acts for the local laws, because hardly one or two questions they may ask, but that was, I think, also very bare act based questions that they asked on the local law. So that's it.
Okay. Ma'am, there's this another question that is coming up, and this question is asked by Farheen Khan, and it's a very good question. I believe that since we all know that you cleared not only one but four judicial like so far, and since Delhi is interview is pending, like how you actually prepared, and as you said that you prepared for one examination, later on you covered slowly and simultaneously each particular subject. Did you used to prepare for each and every state separately, or just you prepared for Punjab Judiciary with whole your hard work and focus, and later on the rest of them like covered just the way like? So could you please tell?
See, like I already told, when I started preparing for judiciary, I tried to cover each and every topic that is important in my notes. So at that point of time, I didn't that much differentiated, like uh, only I should do these topics. So because I was aware that it's not that today the Punjab exam may come up, so I had to prepare my notes full fledged. So I was well aware of the concepts that were important for judiciary. It was only like, you can say, at least 60 to 70% syllabus is same for all the states, and it's hardly a difference of like 30% that is different in the other states. So that helped in clearing the other states as well. Like for Rajasthan, I was to work on my Hindi. It has a little bit technical Hindi paper, especially for prelims and for mains. There are specific questions regarding Rajasthan culture or Rajasthan based essays they ask. But I don't think that's that much difficult. You can give 15 days at max for the syllabus that is different in that other state. But otherwise, if you have already completed with your notes that are basic ones like IPCs in every state, CRPC, CPC evidence, these are the major subjects and which are asked in each and every state. So be clear with your basics and prepare your notes in a wholesome manner so that you don't leave any important topic or any important point upon any important topic. So I don't think that's that difficult for you to prepare for another state. But yes, I definitely advise students that don't go for so many states. Like just focus upon 2 or 3 states. That's it. Don't go for more than that. So because like I had my major focus upon Punjab, but by the time the Punjab paper arrived, like it was the last one that I gave, I was so exhausted and I had reached my saturation point that I was like, I don't want to give this paper. But since it was my aim, I had to give the paper because in 1 year I gave like 4 judiciaries, and like I had the prelims, I had the mains, I had the interview. So it was very difficult for me to like study again and again for the paper. So I advise that focus upon 1 or 2 or 3 at max states, like they have the common preparation style. So that's it.
Right, right. Yeah, so the thing which we come to know that don't go for uh, for many judiciary paper like for many states at one time, because that could be hectic, but also it depends to person like the way you cleared it, and it's a very commendable thing, and we all are appreciating that. So far we have covered all the relevant questions, and from the I'll ask from the participants if we have any who can directly who is having some problems regarding preparation, so they can directly ask question from our expert. I can unmute that particular participant. Please raise your hand. And meanwhile, that ma'am question which we are getting a lot about the reliable sources. So could you please just give the names of the commentaries, which you referred just once, because this question was asked like 4 to 5 times. Yeah, just the
Okay.
major commentaries which you referred.
For IPC, I did Pillai. For CPC, I did Takwani. For CRPC, I did Kelkar. For evidence, Batuklal. For family law, like for Muslim law, Akil Ahmed. For Hindu law, 𝗱𝗿𝗱𝗃. And for minor laws, I did AK Jain only. And contracts, I did Avtar Singh.
Right, right. Okay, so we got some suggestion, and I'm unmuting Kajal. Uh, 1 second. Yes, yes, Kajal, you can ask your question.
Ma'am, for judiciary, should we just focus on the important sections or we need to study all the sections?
Okay, see, for prelims point of view, you need to study each and every section. You can't leave any section if we talk about the prelims. So you, if it's Barak, read whole of the Barak. Don't leave any section. It will definitely get you good marks in the prelims if you know each and every section of the Barak. But if we talk about the mains, in mains, firstly, you need to do smart study, and definitely you can rule out topics by using the past year papers, the questions that are asked repeatedly, or the sections from which questions are even once they were asked. So there are some topics which are never asked in the paper, so you can eliminate those sections and just stick to the important topics that are important for the mains point of view. And for prelims, you need to do the whole of the Barak.
Right. So I believe that Kajal has got her answer. Amarjot Singh, you can ask your question.
हेलो गुड
Yes.
आफ्टरनून मैम
Good afternoon.
मैम हमें जैसे एमसीक्यूज के लिए बुक्स होती हैं यूनिवर्सल्स की आती हैं मैम कौन सी बेस्ट है हर एक सब्जेक्ट के लिए एट द एंड टाइम जब मेंस पूरा मतलब बहुत करीब हो उसका मेन का एग्जामिनेशन उसमें जो रिवीजन के लिए बुक्स हम ले सकते हैं प्रैक्टिस पेपर
See, you are asking for mains only.
Prelims also, ma'am.
So for prelims, you can go for universal book. That's topic wise, and definitely what I did was I did only the past year papers because they have the whole of the topic. So you will get to know that okay, how much you actually assess yourself and the time you take. And for mains, I did the past year books only. Like for Delhi, I did 𝗱𝗿𝗱𝗃 Malik. For Haryana also there is 𝗱𝗿𝗱𝗃 Malik, and there is also a book of Chawlas. That's for Punjab and Haryana. Differently, their book is of Chawlas. So I did these books only.
Right, right. Okay, so I'm taking the last participant, Shraddha Aneja. You can ask your question.
Hello, thank you. Ma'am, I wanted to ask that obviously, like, I am my last year of my graduation, BLLB, ma'am. So I'm trying to prepare my notes side by side, but I'm not able to write up to the mark. I can feel that there is some deficiency. There's for example, I'll give you I'll state an instance. Once I was preparing for my exam, college exam. So what I did was, the topic was of admissions, section 7, but I could not write all of that, obviously. So I scored a little less. I knew all of that, but I got confused what to write and what not to. So could you please guide me and on note make how to do that thing, ma'am?
Okay, regarding if I say about note making, I won't say that, okay, limit your notes. You can definitely write things that are important in your notes. But yes, while writing the answer, you don't need to write the whole of the notes that you have prepared. There you need to just think, okay, what they have stated. For example, the question is res judicata. I can give the example of res judicata. Here, what is, if you have to explain a person, what are the basics of the section? You can state the objective of the section and the important judgments. That's what is required for the simple question where what is res judicata. You don't need to go for, okay, whether it is applicable upon compromise decree, whether it is applicable upon PIL. You can definitely write it, but that's add upon on the answer. But just stick what they have asked you in the question and what first thing you come into your mind. Okay, the question may be, it may be yes no question, and you can just give, okay, this is not like this. You can give the provision why you are saying that it's a no, and also case law that you have. You don't need to write each and everything that you know upon the section. Just stick to what they have asked you and substantiate it with the case law and the provision. And if there is some other correlating with the provision, I think that's it. You can ask anything else.
I guess. Okay, Shraddha, I believe that you have received your answer, and also we are running out of time also. So I believe that yes, we have taken all the relevant questions. So I'll ask my participants in the end to rate this webinar from 1 to 10. Also, those who are asking for coaching or guidance, so we at 𝗲𝗃o have started with the judiciary course. So you can check that out from our website. And okay, so ma'am, just your last words for the aspirants, for those who are preparing for judicial services, and the advice or the motivation you wanted to give to our participants.
See, I believe that it's hard work. It's hard work, smart work, and persistence. If you have this dedication that you actually want to be judicial officer, and you are definite with your goal, you can definitely be judicial officer. Like, like I have gone through the journey. I personally can say that if you're actually dedicated to your goal and you're working towards it, you can definitely achieve it. Do smart work and be dedicated to your goal. So all the best to all the aspirants, and definitely you will achieve your goal if you really work hard, and definitely smart work is must for with the hard work to achieve the goal. All the best to all the participants.
So yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. And we have received a good feedback from our participants. Uh, yes, so thank you so much, ma'am. Also, yes, okay. So thank you so much for your time and the valuable efforts which you gave, and the insights and the detailed comprehensive strategies which you told to the participants, and definitely that will help us. Also, you can follow the strategies and the small tips and trick which Anubha ma'am has told us. So I believe that was very helpful and beautiful session for everyone. And again, we congratulate you for the ranks which you have achieved. And also, we are wishing you a very luck for the Delhi judicial interview. So congratulations for that also, and best of luck for that. So I'm signing off. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, participants. So yeah, just stay home, stay safe. I'm signing off. Webinar Executive Anubha Jindal. Thank you.